You are now tuned to BS3 Network.
Welcome to the Fourcast. We always like to say, bring that beat back. Big shout out to Golden Eye Creations for the beat and hooking us up with that. Welcome to another episode of the Fourcast. We got a really great show on tap for you guys, and we got two special guests on to boot. So thank you, guests, for coming on. We got Hygh. Go ahead and introduce yourself, host of Casual Highlights. Man, been on BS3 Networks since it was BS3 Radio, man, from its inception. So appreciate you for coming on. Go ahead, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
My name is Hygh. I have a podcast and social media platform now called Casual Highlights, where we just strive to educate, inform, and inspire, have a casual conversation about sports and life. And just had a new idea now, just bringing things together with sports and life and the circular, how it just intersects with everything in life. And just catch me on BS3 Network. Every time I want to say BS3 Radio, because I've been with this for so long, but it's now BS3 Network. And I'm just excited to be here to talk about a great documentary.
Definitely. Doc will not be on tonight. He is actually auditioning for The Masked Singer. So that's why he's not here.
I knew it.
He's on set right now, but he'll be back next week. So he'll be back for the next review. All right, and we also got Terry T.B. Brown of Cats Talk Wednesdays. Great to get you on the show as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the viewers.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite. I do co-host Cats Talk Wednesday. We talk mostly Kentucky sports, but a little bit of everything else, whatever interests us. We've got a wide variety of guests come on. And like I said, I'm glad to be here, glad to be a part of BS3. And you said Olympic Dream Team, so I had to go dig out my 1996 Dream Team 2 official shooting shirt. It's seen better days, but I had to bring it out tonight.
Hey, you got it, though. You got it.
Right.
But tonight we're reviewing the Redeem Team, and I decided to bring two guests on. Also, let me kick it to Wilkes. He was not here last week. I haven't been here for the past 3 weeks, so I'm good to be back. I'm excited. I'm back from suspension, so I'm ready to be back in the saddle, ready to be back to it.
Hold on, you was on timeout?
I was on timeout, yeah.
Facebook?
Nah, not Facebook.
I'm about to say, man, they getting out of hand. Wait a minute, man.
You got naked on air.
Like, you know what? I'm done.
But Wilkes, how you doing, man?
I'm good. You caught me in the middle of a drink, but no, I'm doing good. Good to be back. I needed a vacation with the family, and we're good. And I feel recharged, so it may be a while before I say it may be a while, but we'll see how it goes after the holidays. But need a break from the holidays. But now I'm good. This was a good documentary. I like to hear some other perspectives, and maybe there's some triggered memories from watching some of these greats, and I learned a lot of things while watching this. I did mention this before, but I didn't realize that the first, well, not really the first, but I guess that modern era, the 2004, I didn't realize how terrible that team was. I guess I was under a rock, but so I'm interested to jump in.
They were bad, yeah. All right, and the one and only A-Trap also mixing on the boards for the end of the bench media, not just podcast, media. So nice. How you doing, A-Trap?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. You know how it is. Everything is everything.
Definitely. And nice pictures you had with the fam, too. I seen your son.
Oh, yeah. I was hanging out with my kids this weekend.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, the sequel and the trilogy.
Let's get to the chat here. We got Charlotte Wilson. Thank you for tuning in. Good evening to you as well. We got Big Mo in the building. I didn't know Big Mo could rap at the quality that he does. I don't know if you're dropping an album, Big Mo, or you just do singles, but I've heard multiple songs with you on, man. You definitely talented, man.
Oh, well, you know what? Me and Big Mo working on something, man.
Really? Looking forward to it. Theodore Harper, thank you for tuning in. Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be back. Just Joe in the building. Let's see. We got. I'm not gonna say LaShawn. This is Keisha. If her mama call her Keisha, I'm gonna call her Keisha. This is Keisha Walker in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Wanga in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Also, we got DJ Knox,
Show killer,
in the building. We got CJ. Appreciate you for coming back. It said you don't know about the H-Town. Big Mo. Not that Big Mo. It's a different Big Mo.
Not the bar baby. Not the bar baby.
Not that one. A little bit different. All right, we got real quick question. Who's that cutie pie at the bottom right sipping with the red Solo cup?
What?
It's talking about A-Trap. They
I was like, what? Thank you, Albert.
Yeah. All right.
Albert
Also,
today.
Park in the building. Thank you for tuning in as well. I haven't seen you in a minute, but I know you've probably been here. I just hadn't been here. He said, I'm tweaking, laugh aloud. I came in late. You good. You good. Okay. All right. So, The Redeem Team. That's what we're reviewing tonight. It is on Netflix right now. And, man, this was, we'll get into our initial thoughts. I feel like this was a really good documentary, how it was done, how it talked about the background, a little bit of the backstory. The USA team, the men's USA team sucked. Okay, for that previous year or past 4 years, they were put together. They had Marbury, they had AI, they had Sean Merriman, and they had Larry Brown as the coach. Larry Brown was trying to do it his way, wasn't really working. They were clashing heads. They actually got bronze, which in USA basketball, men's basketball, that is horrible. That is like finishing last because we are supposed to be the best of the best at all times. And that's the rest of the world, which they talk about in this documentary, was starting to catch up with us. So initial thoughts, we're going to kick it to Al first. What was your initial thoughts kind of going into watching this Redeem Team?
I thought it was excellent. Excellent put together for the time. I just, doing my research, I feel like they did leave some pieces out of the documentary, which we'll talk about later. But because in order to get to 04, you had to go back further than that to really understand 04. Right. But overall, I think the stories, the backdrop of stuff, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Like, I watched this a couple of times, probably watch it again. And just to understand the relationships that was built in this documentary, and now how the landscape of the NBA is because of the 08 team was the foundation of how basketball and the NBA has gone forward because of that team. So initially, I thought it was a great documentary series.
Yeah. Good point. All right, Terry.
Well, for me, it was whenever I'm going to sit down, especially documentary, give me something I don't know. Too many documentaries try to color, something that we think we know. But this one was really good of pulling back the curtain a little bit. I thought it did a pretty good job at the beginning to connect the dots going back to 72 and that fiasco against Russia. I had to explain that one to my wife, like how those dudes still have nothing to do with those silver medals, right? And kind of bring through piece by piece. Then you get the 88 team that loses. And then we get the dream team, which changes everything. Right. And then we kind of get lazy again. So for me, it was how America got back to being the best in the world, right? Like, our answer to 88 losing was the dream team. Like, we just came through with a sledgehammer. And so we lose in 04. what is the response to losing 04? Well, here's Wade, here's LeBron, here's Kobe, here's these dudes. That was the response. So to me, it was just fascinating to watch the behind the scenes stuff.
Right, exactly. And that's the part that like I said, I loved, is that behind the scenes, Kobe, LeBron working together, Coach K, sitting down and coming up with different methods to basically convince millionaires to buy into this college program, if you will.
Right.
All right, HR, what's your thought?
First and foremost, let me say I did enjoy this, but I didn't enjoy it as much as you guys did because I see it from a totally different perspective. There's a narrative being pushed with most documentaries. It's not just this one. There's a narrative being pushed. I don't like the narrative because it's a narrative to sell tickets. It's a narrative to draw people in. And as we talk about this, I'll expound on it more. Again, I enjoyed this, but in sports, they create these, in my opinion, they do what people like Candace Owens, Kanye, and Fox News do. They tell portions of the truth that make you go, and then it magnifies stuff. Like, it's this trope that's been going around sports for the last, I want to say, 45 years, that Michael Jordan got cut from the varsity team. Yeah, but he was a sophomore. Don't keep telling me Michael Jordan got cut from the varsity when he wasn't varsity eligible. He was trying to skip a step. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say it then. I'm going to say it now, then we get into it later. This lie that they tell that the rest of the world caught up. The rest of the world didn't catch up. I've been interacting in sports for the better part of my life. And Big Illinois used to have a crew called JDN. And they were beating basketball players in our neighborhood who were D1 prospects and very good ball players. And they wasn't even allowed to watch D1 basketball. But JDN knew how to play with each other. And that's what those are European teams versus a collection of talent. You cannot beat a team with a collection of talent, no matter how much talent you have. And as we proceed, I'll get into what I mean by that. But again, I truly enjoyed this, but it's just these false narratives that are, in my opinion, that are being pushed upon us as sports fans. And that's why I stepped away from sports, because I see things different, and it's just no fun talking to people about these false narratives. And I'm like, okay, if that's the way you see it. Just like another false narrative, in my opinion, is the running back is an obsolete situation. But who are the best teams in the league right now? And all of them running back is kicking butt. No matter what the quarterback, they got good quarterbacks, but the running back is the focal point. But everybody loves the quarterback. So we'll move forward. As we move forward, we'll get into it, and I expound further.
Yeah, or they got a running back by committee, so the whole team,
right?
Is killing.
Yeah,
So,
because one more thing, Wilson. They always say you can get a running back anywhere in any round. You mean like the fourth round you got Joe Montana in, or the sixth round you got Tom Brady in?
Right.
And they the number one and number two all time, depending on who you're talking to. So it's just these tropes. And again, I enjoyed this, but it's just certain when you get to telling me this nonsense, I'm not gonna believe you. I'm not gonna discount my lying eyes and believe you. Yeah. So
and just to kind of what A-Track was saying about the running backs, it was like, I mean, growing up in the growing up in the 80s, but then coming into the late 80s, 90s, I mean, man, workhorse, the running back was the workhorse. Halfback, that was it. I mean, that
was the team.
Yeah, you gonna give him the rock, and he gonna wear you out. If you can't stop him, that defense is gonna be gassed. Because especially if they making holes and he walking right through. Like, come on, man. I mean, the Barry Sanders, the obviously the Emmitt Smiths,
Irmo.
Yeah, I was like, man, we had some great ones there. It was just one of those things where in that time, so with this, it's like you got the forwards, you got the guards out there. I mean, you got some great people in these positions.
Mhm.
But again, like H-Rap said, it's like, well, look at us, look what we're doing. How do we push this to get more people to watch? Because I'm pretty sure people, if they were losing 2004, 2006, it's like, oh well, they just gonna, they're not gonna pay attention. They don't want to show up. It's gonna be somebody showing up for Argentina or somebody showing up for Spain. It's just like, oh well, the USS playing. I mean, the United States playing. It's all right. They all right this year. So yeah, it's definitely one of. I think it's a double-edged sword, this documentary, but it was some information that I didn't know about that was kind of eye-opening.
Yeah. So let's touch on as they're kind of getting into the backstory, and they talk about the Russia situation. And so a guy, this story is, I'm still bamboozled, in the words of run amok, if you will. That somebody from the stands comes down and says,
right,
that score is not right. I'm like, what? Who are you? Where'd you even come from? Do you work for the Olympics? They didn't go too far into that, but that story blew my mind. And Terry, I know you kind of mentioned it first, but go ahead and touch on that.
Yeah, I just remember this. I think it was right around the same time as the Dream Team. It was the 20th anniversary. My dad was just talking about how the Russians put 3 seconds back on the clock. For those that don't know,
right,
Doug Collins, great player, great coach, great commentator, great commentator, hits 2 free throws with 3 seconds left to put the USA up by 1. Russia inbounds it, somebody touches it, horns go off, confetti, America wins. And some random dude in a green jacket comes down from the stands. They clear the court, put 3 seconds back on. The Americans have to get their head on straight. Russia gets another shot, inbounds the ball. Russian catches it, 2-point basket. They win by 1. And so, like, to this day, that 72 team, Doug Collins and those guys, they have rejected their silver medals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they have forbidden their kids and their kids' leave it there. So that part of the Olympic story is one of those things I don't think gets talked about enough. Because if you see it happen, I'm trying to explain it to you, but if you see it, it is really bizarre that 3 minutes of just what is going on. Here we are 50 years later, still trying to contemplate what happened.
Right.
And even pretty much, even when they went back to that, when they added that 3 seconds, it was pretty much the same exact design when he threw the ball in.
Yeah.
It was almost to the T. It's like they almost, if this doesn't work, then you need to come down out of the stand.
You do it again. Yeah, absolutely.
We go run it again. We go run it again. Yeah. Yeah.
They still do it. The Russians still do it to this day.
HBO has a documentary about that.
We may need to watch that. It's 13, 14, 15-year-olds.
Yeah. Did they get, that was China, but wasn't it Russia? Didn't Russia get eliminated from one of the Olympics because of juicing? I thought it was Russia.
China. It was Russia.
It was okay. It was Russia. All right. That's what I thought. Yeah, their Olympic team the gymnastics team had got disqualified.
Yeah.
Floor exercise or something like that.
Yeah. I'm obviously not surprised as to where we are right now today. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
They were involved. Al, you want to touch on that?
No, I need to go watch that documentary about the 72 because I knew a little bit about it before the Redeem Team documentary. But it seems like when somebody running down with that green coat and you there's commotion for 3 seconds, what's really going on right now?
Exactly.
And then you got to look at and then I'm thinking now, what was the political climate back then in the 70s? I know we were still dealing.
Probably Cold War,
Vietnam. So what else was going on politically around the world at that particular time?
Well, remember, Al, it was like 8 years after the Bay of Pigs. This is when Castro is at his height. This is when Russia was taking over. Russia was making power moves. So it was definitely a tumultuous time in the world. So yeah.
So I'm gonna add this to y'all. I just want y'all to throw this out here, and it just popped in my head. Do you think, because for the medal game in 1980 in Lake Placid, the hockey team ended up winning the
Mm.
medal. Do you think that was like as a gift? Say, hey, we took your medal from you for basketball, so we're going to let you, because the Soviets were favored to win in hockey, and we were the miracle on ice.
Right.
Which is interesting. They talk about the miracle on ice more than they talk about this other game in '72.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So do you think that's possible? A gift back? Hey, we messed up. We're gonna.
Hey, I wouldn't. I mean,
we'll put it past.
I would.
It's good.
I would not.
To A-Trap's point earlier, you never know what's going to happen, and I think there's so many narratives that go on. Who knows? At this point, we never know.
And then one of the reasons I think they talk about that miracle on ice so hard is because they beat the Russians, and that was the number one adversary. Because America had just boycotted the Summer Olympics that year. They didn't go to the Summer Olympics; they went to the Winter Olympics, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Well, no brothers involved, so
right.
It's the greatest event ever. Ain't no brothers in, so yeah. We got to share this.
Well, we got to touch on that. That's the whole backstory in my mind to all these Olympic basketball teams, is that unspoken thing. I wish they would have touched on more in the documentary. And I apologize for talking out of turn, fellas.
No, you good.
But I remember how that 04 team was treated before they lost. Because you got Iverson, you got Marbury, and Americans wasn't really rocking with that team before they went.
Right.
And so I wish this documentary would have touched a little bit more on that aspect of why do we celebrate the hockey team and all these other professional athletes that competed at the Olympics, but yet it's the NBA basketball players. They're the millionaires. They're the spoiled ones. That to me was one of those things.
Yeah.
It was an elephant in the room throughout this documentary. And really, when you look at Olympic basketball, that's the unspoken thing about the whole thing.
To add to Terry's point about that, I'm thinking about that was the hype of the dress code. Because and they changed the whole thing with the dress code in 05, 06. The one and done rule happened around that particular time too. So when you said Marbury and Iverson, the first two things I remember people saying growing up, thugs.
Yeah.
Why are we sending 80s thugs over here to represent us?
Right. Absolutely.
Now, in regards to a fix being in, that's when I believe the fix is in, because this is what I want to understand. 1988, I was a senior in high school. David Robinson was the man. Danny Manning was the man. You got Willie Anderson. This was a tough team. You got a homeboy from my high school, Hersey Hawkins. They had all NBA All-Stars on this team, right? But they're coming out of college, but they are playing against Drazen Petrovic. What's my man name who played for Portland for a little while? The center that played Sabonis. They playing against what's the dude who used to play for Golden State, left hand dude. He couldn't dribble with his right hand. He could have just cut his right hand off while he was hooping.
Chris Mullin.
No. It was a European cat, but they had a bunch of European pros on one team. So, I mean, I ain't the smartest dude in the world, but you see that they are playing with a team of pros. These guys have been playing together for 13 years, and they beat the most talented amateur team you could put together at that point.
Yeah.
So why, 14 years later, you put just a makeshift group of dudes out against these same kinds of dudes? At this point, you got Tony Kukoc. At this point, you got a whole bunch of pro teams, like the Spain team that the Redeem team almost lost to this documentary. Why would you send a group of guys out? You know why you send a group of guys out? Because you need that group of guys to lose so Europe can start watching NBA basketball, so China can start watching NBA basketball, so South America can start watching NBA basketball. And then you bring in Ginobili, then you bring in Kukoc, then you bring in all these guys who we celebrate at this point, so the money can be made.
So do you think this Redeem team, and like especially the last game against Spain, and do you think this was a second coming of that of that hockey game, the Miracle on Ice, or was it the 72 game? You think it was?
I think the Redeem Team was the second coming of the Dream Team. And the reason I believe it's the Dream
They
Team
went on a run.
because they told them, you got to play with us for 4 years. You got to come with us for 4 summers. If something, just like I said, my initial point, you cannot put a collection of talent versus a team. I don't care who you are.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I figured if it was more like, were they trying to set the stage again? Like, oh, you know what we did to them in 72 against Russia and the United States. Let's put Spain in the United States and try to upset them again. But
Spain had just won. That's the thing. One of y'all mentioned it. I personally, like I said at the top, when we were on the other end, in the back room, I said what they need to do, just like I said about biopics. No more biopics. These need to be serious because you cannot put 50, 60 years of somebody's life in 90 minutes. You cannot put 4 summers of basketball into 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Y'all know we're going to watch.
It should have been 10 parts at least.
It should.
And I'll say this. The same people that made this was the same people that made the Bulls documentary.
Really?
Last Dance. Yeah, it's the same. It was the same producer or something to that effect.
Look at the Last Dance. You got Michael Jordan walking into the league. You got him climbing to the top. Him walking away. The team, once he walked away, he came back, and how he walked out of the door. That was a 8-year period, and it took six episodes. So why would you put this in one episode?
Yeah, because who knows what it depends on. It definitely don't depend on the money because there was obviously money that could be made in this. But I think going back to that 2014, even D Wade or somebody on the team said it. We were just a bunch of athletes on a team, and that's what it ended up being. And I'm a big AI fan, but AI do his thing.
Yeah.
Marbury do his thing. They didn't have a collective team, so I think they lost just because they won a team. And Larry Brown, I wouldn't say that was the best possible option.
Yeah, I was like, that's who they went with. Yeah,
I mean, you could have went Phil. I'm surprised. I'm assuming maybe they did go to Phil or not, but Phil would have been the guy. I would
even Popovich, somebody.
But then also, I guess, and I want to add this to it. It's all about pieces and timing, and like H-Rap said, it takes time for you to come together. Then we got to look at on the court, ball dominant. We got Marbury and Iverson, 2 ball dominant guards.
Who thought that was gonna work?
Off the rip, and then you got Duncan down low. Now y'all put this together.
Right. And another thing,
they got thrown together.
Yeah.
They say y'all figure it out. Y'all athletes. Y'all
like you. Okay, y'all work together.
And what makes me believe it was a setup to lose is Larry Brown coaches a system. He don't coach players. He coaches. This is the Larry Brown way.
Right.
When you're in a situation where you have multiple superstars, you have to coach the players, and that's the difference in great coach, which I do believe Larry Brown is, but that's the difference in great coach and a dude who can coach talent.
Yeah.
Greg Popovich can coach talent. Larry Brown is a great coach. I can get you in and out of a system with my guys.
Like Pat Riley.
With your guys, I can't do anything. Pat Riley, he can't coach your guys.
Right.
Phil Jackson cannot coach your guys.
Right.
But he can coach his guys. So why would you put a coach who coaches a system in with a collective?
Yeah.
No.
Shout out to D Great. Thank you for tuning in. Right. Honestly, I think they got lazy because that's what we do. When you riding high, you eventually get lazy. I mean, it's some of it's human nature. Some of it is just the United States. We get lazy when we just continue to keep doing our thing. And they basically they threw it together, and they just thought these players individually are good enough to beat anybody.
Yeah, it's almost like they expected the names of these players to be terrifying. Like, okay, well, we're just gonna cower at these. We know who these guys are, but it's gonna be more. It takes more than that. It's not just gonna be the name that gets you by.
Right.
Let me ask y'all this: in '92, because I was small, you know, I was kindergarten, first grade chasing butterflies, you know, I really wasn't worried about the world out here. But when they put that dream team together, and I remember watching one documentary on NBA TV about it. They went overseas to play together to get ready. What was the timetable for that team to come together collectively as a group and then to go to Spain and dominate? What was they didn't have the 1 to 2 year rule, right?
I don't think they talked about it because it was almost like instant.
They played together all summer over here because they had got kicked out of the they had got kicked out of the World Game, so they had to qualify. So they played the Tournament of Americas, North, South, and Central. They kicked butt over here, and then they went over there and practiced more. The difference is this, Al. Again, one of y'all mentioned the one and done rule. That was you who mentioned the one and done rule. Mm-hmm. See, this is another reason why the NBA, in my opinion, is trash. You get better when you lose. You learn how to play basketball when you lose, and if you lose your first year and then go to the pros, you can lose in the pros. You don't have to learn. You look, Russell Westbrook is the dictionary definition of not getting better. I'm just living off my abilities. The dream team was full of dudes. The dream team was full of dudes who had 3 to 4 years in college, 8, 9 years in the NBA. Bird and Magic had 12 years in the NBA. Yeah. These dudes, what do you say?
The dream team became a unit after they lost to the college players.
Yeah, because the college team was clouded.
I think you said that.
Yeah, and it's a collective thing. So yeah, Al, they practice over here playing against Chris Webber, Mashburn, and those guys. So Chris Webber and Mashburn them could have beat those dudes in Europe. But you put, everybody look at Bird and Magic, but they was at the end of the rope. You got peak Michael Jordan.
Right.
You got peak Clyde Drexler. You got peak Scottie Pippen. You got peak David Robinson, and you got peak Patrick Ewing.
Right.
They not losing to nobody.
Karl Malone in there. Clyde.
You got Malone, Stockton.
Mullen,
losing to
Barkley.
Stockton. Barkley in there.
If we fast forward, and Terry, I want to get your thoughts on this. None of them thought about teaming up.
There you go.
That's a lie, Ben. Again, this is
about teaming up.
As I'm sitting here,
they didn't have the control. They didn't have the control to be able to team up. That's what.
Right. But I think the biggest piece to that 04 team, there was no real point guard. When you look at the dream team and you got Magic and your number 2 is Stockton, right? And you look at 96, it's Penny, and I think Jason Kidd. You look at 04, and I think Ben, you talking about you had 2 ball dominant point guards. When the Olympic team is at its best, like on the Redeem team, you got Chris Paul, you got Jay Kidd, and you got Darren Williams before he fell off.
Yeah.
That's point guards moving the ball around. That's what that international game is all about. In 04, we just didn't have that, right? Yeah. And so I think when we look at roster construction, that's the kind of thing. If you've never read the book Jack McCallum wrote about the Dream Team, talking about how they dogged Christian Laettner, it's a really good read. If you ever get a chance to read it, talking about, Shaq was not going to be done like how they did Christian Laettner, just to CJ's point. But just you have to look at roster construction more than just they got to play together, but you need people to fill roles. You need a point guard. Yeah. And that 04 team simply didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to CJ's point, that would have been wild. And to this day, I think they had to have a college player, so that's why they picked Laettner. I'm a Tar Heel fan. I just felt like they just gave that spot. I guess because he won, you won
best college basketball player in the world at that point. I saw Christian Laettner that year destroy Shaq in a game, head up. I saw Christian Laettner destroy Lonzo Mourning. He
was that dude. He was that dude back
then. They have to give the spot to him though. That was my.
In college.
Well, then who else at that time historically? I mean, you had Shaq, you had the Fab Five, but and
he had
Duke was dominating them from historical records.
Was
dominating them boys.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm talking about Laettner and Shaq. They went down to LSU. He outplayed Shaq.
Gave
They
Shaq
let
the
George
business.
count. He outplayed Zoe.
Yeah.
Well,
Shaq never played in the Olympics. And I think that was by choice. I don't think that was because
no, Shaq played in the
No,
Olympics.
he played
He played
96.
96.
Oh, I thought he played that. Yeah, I was gonna say he was
He
in
played on
96.
Dream Team too.
Yeah,
And again, if you look at Dream Team 2,
he played Dream Team too. Him and Penny did.
Yeah, that's right.
If you look at Dream Team 2, it's a bunch of dudes who spend a lot of time in college, which means you can pick and plug me wherever you want.
Right, exactly. It's that team. It's a difference between, and I think that's what the Lakers are going through right now. It's a difference between having a team and just having a bunch of dudes on a team that you expect,
or as they call them, super teams.
You expect them to meet this expectation.
Let me address that one thing before you say something, Al.
All
Dudes was running to play with each other, Ben. It's this dude that went to my high school who teamed up with Isaiah Thomas, Mark Aguirre. Mark Aguirre was an all-star.
Yeah.
The Lakers had Bob McAdoo on their bench. The Celtics had Dennis Johnson, Finals MVP, and they had League MVP and Final MVP Bill Walton. The Celtics. So
on the bench.
They also had League MVP Nate Archibald. At one point, they had what's my man name? Pistol Pete Maravich on their team.
Super
The
team.
only difference is Scoops was putting it together versus players putting it together.
Right.
Yeah. And I just don't think you would have seen Magic and Mike on the team together. And during that time, because they battled each other. It was just different time. They battled each other. They weren't talking about teaming up. They were talking about.
I remember in Chicago around 1986 to 1987, before Scottie Pippen got here, the word around the campfire was Jordan is going to go to the Knicks and play with his man Patrick Ewing. And, hey, anybody who's my age in the chat room from Chicago can confirm that.
Wow.
Look.
Control at that point. Whoever the GM decided they was.
Look, here goes something else. Charles Barkley, one of the biggest critics of LeBron, forced his way out of Philadelphia.
He went to Houston.
No,
he went to Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah. But still in Houston,
with NBA All-Star Mark West, NBA All-Star Tom Chambers, NBA All-Star point guard Kevin Johnson.
Man.
He forced his way out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So then who has the power in the NBA? The players or the owners?
I'm pretty sure it's the players. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And then we was talking about the one and done and how camaraderie with the players and how 92 they had years of experience playing together. Do we, with this whole one and done rule, and now they're probably going to let that go?
Yeah.
Should some of these players, can we start having real conversation with some of these players? Be like, man, stay your butt in college, bro. You do not need to be on that floor after 6 months on campus going to the league, and we don't hear about you again for 5 to 7 years, and then you on somebody's bench, 2 ACL injuries, got a whole head of beard and all that.
Right.
You want some,
But see, here's the beauty of that now, Al. With that name likeness thing, you can get paid. Deion Sanders is down there getting $3 or $4 million a year from Tom Brady because he's the model for his line. The young boy at Texas, the running back at Texas, got a Ferrari. He's on campus with a Ferrari that they gave to him and a G-Wagon. The quarterback at Ohio State is making $300,000 a year. So I will stay.
And also they also added in the G League Ignite. I'm not sure what the other team
Overtime Elite.
Yeah, if they want it's so many options at this point.
Yeah,
they have to change.
They've got so much.
You can't there's so many other leagues. NBA gonna want their picks still. They got the ability.
Yeah, of course.
We got some comments here. CJ, nowadays is definitely the players. Adam Silver is player friendly. Adam Silver don't have no choice. I mean, like,
you're right.
you can come up against LeBron, or you come up against.
Right.
You're not gonna do it.
But like,
it took me to the World Championship when the U.S. lost to.
Oh, we need to talk about that. We got to talk about 2002 and 2000 because I was doing that research about 2000 team and how they almost lost to Lithuania in the Sydney games, and they ended up getting the gold medal. And then 02 was just a shit show, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, they finished like 6th to 7th place. You had George Karl was the coach, and then you had your big man was Jermaine O'Neal, and you had Paul Pierce. I mean, Paul Pierce was cool,
but even at that point, man.
Yeah.
But again,
and that's what I was saying. It was just like it was kind of like, oh, we not really. We'll check in. What they doing? Oh, they ain't doing great.
Man, but again, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, okay, again, this goes back to me not being the smartest dude in the world. Then, because if in 1988 I look at these guys, okay, what's the kid name down there in Texas? Which y'all, man, point guard, point small forward, what's his name? Big old white boy. Luka Doncic has been a pro since he was 13. He's 22 years old now.
Right.
He only been in the NBA 5 years. So from 17 to 14, he was playing with grown men. Yep. And you gonna send a collection of dudes to play against that?
Right.
No. Exactly. You gotta lose.
Right. Boy, Luka, if you see any Luka highlights, man, he make
Luka gonna eat you up.
Men look like on skates, man. He make men look like they ain't ever played right in lives. That's because he played since he was 14. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you got a dude got grown man strength at 17. And then you got Trey. What's the boy name in Atlanta? Trey Young. He 160 pounds, soaking wet with a brick in his hand. He ain't played against no grown men. Only grown men he played was against. And that's what I'm saying. You ain't learned from this. They sent you over. Y'all didn't learn. You just can't put a group of dudes together. Personally, and again, this is just H-Rap talking and just my experience watching sports. I don't even think you need a dream team to beat these European guys. Because they got Paul Gasol. That's it. They got Tony Parker. That's it. It's some dude.
Mark, and some other cats that was NBA cats on it.
No, but I'm just saying it wasn't big time NBA cats. Yeah. Dude, I believe it's some dudes that I'm not saying this guy in particular. He thought his way out the league. What's that kid name used to play for Indiana? Deshaun Stevenson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You get some dude. There's some dude. He go over to Europe and look like God.
Right.
So you get some low level dudes. If you got a group of dudes who probably not good enough to play in the NBA, and just made them Team USA and it paid them into perpetuity until they got old, they'll go over there and beat the brakes off those dudes, man. Because if the world caught up that much, why it ain't 3 or 4 guys starting from Europe or the rest of the world on every team?
Yeah, because they made it seem like in the documentary, it was like, oh, here comes the almost the second coming of the British invasion, but if you will, but from different parts of the world. It was just like, they mentioned Ginobili, and then
they just had a better team.
Yeah,
because again, to your point.
Right.
They've been playing since they were 14 years old. And that's why we almost could have lost to Spain. Right. I mean, they've been playing for us so long.
Right, because if you've been doing it that long, it's second nature at that point.
Real quick, I'm going to say this 2002 team real quick, and then Wilkes, I'll go to you. It was definitely not put together properly. Elton Brand, Antonio Davis, really?
Yeah.
Baron Davis, Michael Finley, Rafe LaFrance, remember that name? Sean Merriman, Andre Miller, Reggie Miller, Jermaine O'Neal, Paul Pierce, Ben Wallace, and Jay Williams, who played 1.5 years in the NBA. That was that 2000.
No, he didn't play a year and a half, really.
But go ahead, Will.
No, it was just, I was gonna say, we were talking about how, if you've been playing basketball with grown men at that age, and even if you went to little league or whatever, but now it's like, man, he's this good. He's schooling the old times or whatever, or the older ones on the court. It's just like with certain countries, they're just good at running long distance. It's all they've done is run long distance. I'm not. This is what I do. So they just gonna eat you up with no problem. They gonna spit you out. So it's not so much of that. Oh, well, let's just throw something together and put them out there. No. This is what you're gonna get, because this is what I've been doing in my sleep. Like, this is just in me. It's bred in me. Like, this is just what I do.
And interesting enough, there's a Tony Parker documentary we may want to do. He got signed to his first contract when he was 14 or 15.
Right.
Live, sleep, breathe. Him,
Right.
Ronnie Tariff. I don't know if y'all remember him. He played for
Ronnie Terrioff, yeah.
Ronnie Terrioff was on that team. And
I mean, prime example. We were the King. We did it with King Richard.
King Richard.
I mean, we saw it with the Serena. I mean, the Williams sisters with Serena and her. So it was just like, it's just in me to do this. You know, Tiger Woods. I mean, it was just
another example.
I was raised with a club in my hand, so I mean, this is all I know. You know, so yeah, it's like second nature at that point.
Yeah. Shout out to Courtney Harden. Also, we got Jay Shine Randoms. Thank you for telling me. He said the Euro wave. He said the world has a lot of talent now, so the talent has caught up.
So where they at?
But they are they getting it from?
But
who are they learning? But who are they learning it from? It's got to be the West. They're learning it from the West,
right?
They're learning it from us. Yeah.
If they caught up that much, it'll be 2 or 3 Euro players killing on the Bulls. It'll be 2 or 3 Euro players killing on the Knicks. It'll be 2 or 3. They'd be all over the league, and they're not.
Go ahead.
If the rest of the world had caught up, LeBron and those guys would be playing in Euro League, not coming to the NBA. So when people say they caught up, well, if that's the case, then we'd be going over there to play.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened.
To Terry's point, it was like a second coming of when the Dream Team went over there and Jordan was walking around and they were going crazy. Well, Kobe was stepping out and they were going nuts. Like he was Michael Jackson. You know,
perfect segue there. Let me give a shout out to Chief Rocker. This kind of turned into The Last Dance, where basically this at some point in the documentary, it just went all Jordan. Everything else was just Jordan beat. And I think at a certain point, this became a Kobe doc. Which absolutely. And I think also his death has caused a lot of different things to change, which deservingly so. I think it should.
Yeah.
It kind of Kobe became the center of it. Now, did that get you guys' thoughts? Were you cool with that? Were you bothered by that? Terry, I'll go to you first.
Well, I'm not an unbiased a person here. I'm been a Kobe fan, but I did like how they touched on how his involvement really kind of made this thing go. Mm-hmm. He was going to set the tone. He was going to work with LeBron, and I think it was interesting to say, they highlighted, he wasn't an NBA guy. He wasn't hanging out with the other NBA dudes before this.
Right.
So him coming, being a part of it, being that dude, like LeBron talking about, they went partying, come back in from partying. Kobe's going to the gym to work out, to change that up. I also like how Carmelo Anthony was like, yeah, that's too early. Carmelo Anthony was my highlight of the whole documentary. Mm-hmm. Like, just give me Carmelo talking about all kinds of stuff. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Carmelo needs a documentary too.
Yeah, he does, and everything he's done. But I think because of everything that's happened with Kobe, I was okay with the focus kind of being there to help the team really get focused. The highlight for me was, I'm going to run through Pau Gasol's chest.
Yeah,
I'm going to let you know this is my dude.
Right.
And we fighting and winning championships, but I'm going to let everybody know what I'm here to do. And I think that was enough to kind of get them where they needed to be.
Yeah, that was the Mamba. I mean, like, he didn't care that they played on the team. And then when he said it, and you seen LeBron, they went to LeBron, they went to D-Wade. They're like, nah, man, he's not going to do that. And then it was all like, whoa, they just bopped on the sideline, like, no, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
They're on the same team.
Yeah.
But, that goes to, so I think.
See, this goes back into my issue with the whole league. Larry Johnson would have ran through that dude's chest too. Derek Coleman would have did that. And it is not to diminish how awesome Kobe is.
Barkley would have body slammed that.
Barkley would have. I remember Barkley they was like, Barkley about to cause an international incident. He slammed the dude. He body slammed the dude from Angola.
Yeah.
So, this is what I'm talking about. And like my man Courtney, what's up, Courtney? Courtney Harden.
Courtney in the bill.
He named 4 dudes, and I can name 4 dudes from the 80s and the 90s. Petrovic, the dude, I cannot think of this dude's name. He played for Golden State Warriors.
Well, no, Detlef Shrimp was on.
I was gonna say Dylan.
Detlef Shrimp went to college here. He went to University of Washington. But again, Detlef Shrimp, he from Germany. Dirk.
Marcelonis?
Marcelonis, that's his name.
Marcelonis, yeah.
Yeah. These dudes were kicking butt in the 80s. But it was, let's just be honest, the racism wasn't gonna let the white boys from over there shine like hotter than bird now.
Nah.
So, and now their money. Hold on, wait a minute. We can get people from Eastern European bloc countries to watch this game. We can get the Chinese to watch. Hold on, we can get 1 billion people to turn this on. Oh yeah, man. Send some trash over there. Let them win. Trick everybody into believing it.
Right. Mr. Gorbachev, I'm gonna take that wall down real quick.
Man.
But Al, let me kick it to you. Give me your thoughts on Kobe. Kobe kind of becoming the center of the dock.
So with Kobe, I think the dream team needed, the redeem team needed Kobe, and Kobe needed them because of his image and what he was going through. I really believe that, because at the time, I think that was 06, 07, I was kind of on the thing of LeBron and when LeBron is going to get his ring.
Yeah.
And so with Kobe's image, it was like being tarnished left and right. Oh, he want to be traded. He went out of Los Angeles. So I like the fact that it was the best thing to happen to that particular team, because if we look back in 06, they didn't have Kobe on the world championship team. So they were pretty much like one piece away. And so with that particular piece of that tone set, it was kind of like thinking about it now. Kobe represented the 96 class plus the old school ballers.
Absolutely.
And he was trying to connect. He was the bridge between Jordan and that 90s group, and then with LeBron and D Wade and Carmelo. So he was like that bridge to bring that together, in my opinion. And I think that was the important part with Kobe being there.
Yeah. Interesting question here. Speaking of racism, did Joker really deserve back-to-back MVP?
I think it's a popularity contest, in my opinion. I think, man, you got most of these writers who vote for this type of stuff. Half of them really don't watch all the games, to be exact. If we really want to be honest with the MVP, maybe Jokic probably should have had one of those.
I think
not two, but maybe one, because there was some other people. Chris Paul probably could have got an MVP in there. Giannis,
Chris Paul should have
really. Joel Embiid was probably the closest.
Joel was dominating every night, man. Really, Joel should have been the MVP last year. If we really want to keep, I'm like, y'all gave it to Joker, man. No,
right, twice.
Exactly. Just Joe. This reminded me of Nash. To me, shouldn't have got none. I think he was on a. He was a. I'm not even gonna say he was a great player. I'm gonna say he was a
good supporting
average player. In the era when you had Kobe playing, in the era when you had Shaq actually really could have won it every year he was in the league almost.
Right.
But I want to get Terry's thoughts. You think Joker should have won back to back?
No, and when you start looking at who wins the MVPs, like Al said, it does get political, because it stops being about the best.
Yeah.
And you end up with in 1998, or was it 97, when Karl Malone won it, and Jordan's like, I'm going to go prove a point. You know what I mean? The one year David Robinson won it, and Akeem was like, I'm going to now prove a point. I'm better than this dude. So it's very rarely going to the best player because of fatigue, because of agendas, because of whatever. It is weird to look back and see Shaq only with one, Kobe only with one, and now Nash has gotten two. And you start looking at that short list of guys with three or more, and that's Moses Malone, who a dude I think we kind of overlook a lot. And does Joker need to be near that list? I don't know. I don't think so, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And see, like this again, this is what checked me out, because it's always been a popularity contest. Explain to me how Scottie Pippen is one of the most dominant on-ball defenders in the history of the National Basketball Association. He could defend the first three positions, point 1 and 2. And it depends on the 3 or the 4 who 1, 2, and 3. Depends on the 4 was he might be able to check him for 5 minutes, right? And Scottie Pippen goes and retires and never gets a defensive player of the year.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an important piece of that team. I mean, even in the documentary when they were talking about that Bulls team, I mean, he was
that first championship. Phil
Yeah.
don't put Scotty on Magic. Might be 6-1 in the final, 5-1 in the finals.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I believe it.
Let's kind of change gears. Let's get to Coach K. The impact that Coach K had on this team, which when he got the job, again, I'm a North Carolina fan. I respect Coach K though. I mean, the dude is great. I think he's got a lot of. We talked about coaching. I think somebody was talking about that. He is truly a coach. He's a mentor. He's all of that stuff. He knows how to get to the player, where they are, what they need to get them motivated. All the different things he was doing, bringing in the military, which he has a military background.
Yeah.
Let's touch on Coach K, which I think he did a great job during his time. So Al, we'll kick it to you first.
Probably one of the best decisions Jerry Colangelo could have made.
Yep.
And then what he did, he brought in Dean Smith for his opinion. So to bring in Coach K to be able to balance it, because like I think it was H-Rap earlier said, not everybody could coach pieces, and you got people who coach systems. And Coach K knows how to what buttons to push and what not to push. So for bringing Coach K in, and not only staying there for the 08 team, but he was the national coach for 10 years, 10, 11 years. So
for a minute,
you had somebody that was going to be who invested not only in college game but the NBA game, and was able to know the buttons to push and what not to push. So I just thought it was an excellent move, because at that time, who else could have done it again? You know, if we look at the landscape, maybe Greg Popovich, but he wasn't really a popular.
I think he was. Yeah, I think to Al's point there, I don't mean to jump in like that, but I think where he's going with it is that when you have young people coming through at a high level of college, you can shape them and get them to buy into what you're selling.
Yeah.
There was a moment in this documentary where Coach K was already like, "Oh, the NBA is different from college. I got $36 million players. I gotta convince them to believe me, because right now I'm just talking and they ain't listening." But I don't mean to cut you off, but I see what you. No,
I like what you added, being able to speak the language. So if you're able to speak the language of a young person,
right?
Because a young person, if those who have kids on here right now, those who I think all of us have children, so there's times where we've had to at first sit down, go be quiet, and then you have to go back. No, this is not working. Me might try to cuss them out. This ain't gonna work. We need to be able to study the music that they're listening to, the movies that they're watching, what TikTok, because you got to be 3 or 4 steps ahead of them. And I really believe that's what Coach K was. That's why Coach K was able to be at Duke for so long and was able to be in different eras of time, because he was able to know the language.
Exactly. It wasn't like you come in, okay, all that stops at the door. It was like, okay, well, this is what you bring, this is what you add. Let me absorb that. Let me learn that. Let me understand that. Just like this is way on a different spectrum, but me and Ben had a gentleman at the counter on Friday, I believe, and we were talking about certain things, and I told him, I was like, I don't need you to even apologize about what happened. I just need you to acknowledge it. So if you acknowledge my skill and you acknowledge who I am in this organization and bringing my skill here, you can, then I'm going to be open to what you're trying to tell me. Because it's like, you're not trying to shut me down and shut down my ideas. You're trying to use my ideas. And then, but yet it's like, kind of like Dog mentioned a while back. It's like, okay, you got your way of doing it, but let me just give you a small insight to something. and then run with it and grow with it at that point. I think Coach K, he brought that.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things he said, and then Terry, I'll come to you. He was saying that you guys all have egos, which I don't want you to diminish that. I want you to bring those egos and say, hey, we're going to be a team.
Absolutely.
We're going to use all these egos for what we all can contribute.
Right.
Well, Coach K was perfect. He was perfect at that time. And I agree with you, Jay Sean. He could have been really an all-time great NBA coach if he wanted. I think college was just his.
I think that was just his lane, his knack. But once again, maybe he felt like he could reach the young people at that point. Some people don't like to move from that point. It's like, I'm the gatekeeper. If I can provide something here before you go to the next step, this is where I do my best work.
Right.
You know, if I go any further than this, maybe I don't have enough to instill in this person, because it's like, man, you're an all-time pro, you're MVP, you know, you whatever, you know, you 3-time championship, you know, what do I have to offer you, you know? But you know, it's like but if I can reach you in the as they say, as the pastor would say, if I can reach you in the foyer, then I can mold you and help you out there. But yeah, I think Coach K was a perfect choice.
Definitely. Shout out to Lloyd Phillips, man. I appreciate your support. And the guy's been supporting almost every show, so appreciate your support.
Yeah.
All right, Terry, we'll come to you.
As a Kentucky fan, I am loath to give Coach K any kind of credit at all. But he was a great choice for two reasons. Number one, there was that moment, I think, after the team lost in 2006 to the world champions or the tournament, whatever that, and he was basically, we have to learn the international rules.
Yeah.
And they had that nice little segue where all the players, like, you can walk in front of somebody shooting free throws, you know, you can play with the ball on the rim. And it seems simple. Like, we need to learn the rules. We need to practice with the ball they use. We need to, you know, you remember for a while there, they had the trapezoid in the lane. Like, we have to figure that out and stop applying NBA rules or college style to what they do over there. That was number one. And number two, to kind of touch on what I was talking about earlier, we all black men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my thing was, how is he going to get a team full of mostly black guys to rah for USA? Because I think we can all be honest. When I see a lot of flags someplace,
good.
Right? You go someplace, your neighbor can have one, but your neighbor have 2 or 3.
Right.
What message are you sending with the flag? So I thought it was great how he did bring in some of the Army folks because of his Army background. I thought it was very important for him to bring in Doug Collins and talk about that 72 team that we talked about. Okay, this is what we're playing for, right? And I think a good leader, a good coach gives his team, gives his folks focus. We are all moving in the right direction. And that's what Larry Brown was not doing.
Yep.
You know, that's what some of the other coaches were not doing, was we all have to move in the same direction. Right now, I think it was A-Trap that said, you know, the thing is, you've got to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
And if we get on the same page, we can't be beaten, right? Like, we can't just roll out of bed and do this.
Yeah.
However, if we are all going the same direction, we got this. And again, I'm loath to give Coach K credit, but it was fantastic. It was just enough to get everybody to do the same thing. Because again, I ain't rah with the American flag and all that kind of stuff. I'm always skeptical of those folks. So that was a nice piece. Like, how are you going to motivate these dudes to wrap themselves up in the flag? Because I mean,
and I think
we know what that means, right?
Right, exactly. The best mentors and the best coaches, I think, can tell you the why. Why are we doing this? And I think the way he delivered that and all the different methods that he did, you had to play for this guy. And I had to respect him even more, even though he's my arch nemesis.
But you know what? I'm gonna get Terry. I'm gonna make Terry tonight. I think Coach Cal could have did it. I think anybody. See, again, Coach Cal coaches players. He don't coach a system. you're gonna come down here. You're not gonna do it the Coach Cal way. You're gonna do it the way Boogie Cousins and John Walker play together. That's how y'all gonna do this. Y'all gonna do it those Henderson twins. Y'all gonna play like they play, and Anthony Davis. Y'all gonna play like this. He has been every team Coach Cal has had. He's coached them very well, and he coached it different. Just like Coach K, he used to be not full corners because that's your coach, man. He used to be, for lack of a better term, stiff white boy basketball. And that's why UNLV was beating. That's why that's why Seton Hall beat the brakes off of him. That's why LV beat the brakes off of him. And you know what he said? Allah Abdel Nabi, Christian Leitner, and Danny Manning are not going to beat this type of stuff. You go get Calvin, and you go get Hill, Brian Hill, you go get Grant Hill, you go get you some leapers and some athletes, and then we're going to incorporate this into Duke. And when he started getting those athletes, look, Coach K, when he first this is what people don't remember. Y'all might not even be old enough to remember this. Coach K first few years in NCAA, he almost got fired. And guess what he went? He went and got Johnny Dawkins, and he went and got old boy Avery. And he got some leapers.
He was at Duke, he almost got fired?
Yeah, he almost got fired.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years in, and then he finally had that big time recruiting class with Amaker, Dawkins,
Tommy Amaker, Dawkins. Yeah, he went and got some athletes.
I think Quinn Snyder was in that group too.
Yeah, so he went and got some athletes, and then they started winning, and then he got more athletes, in the name of Grant Hill, and then he won it all. Yeah. And then he went back to that stiff white boy basketball, and he was getting his teeth kicked in. And then he went and got some more athletes, and he started winning championships. Right. I mean, and there's no disrespect to nobody from the other cultures. Y'all know how I get down, but it's just Coach K, Coach Cal, what's the boy name down there in Florida, Billy Donovan. I think he could have done it because, again, I don't care what you play.
Not Billy
Donovan. If you coach in a system, you're gonna lose against coach like Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson coached the guys that he had.
Right.
Bill Parcells coached the guys that he had. Mike Dicker coached the Cowboy way. And that's why the Bears got one Super Bowl. Because Tom Landry coached we're gonna run the Altus ball with Calvin Hill, and we got 2 quarterbacks. Okay. And then Roger came of age, and then Tony got there. We're gonna run. It's run, play with what you have, not what you want to do. And if you look throughout all the sports, no matter what game it is, if you coach the players, you win. If you coach your system, you get your teeth kicked in.
Right.
Y'all just seen it in Dallas.
Yeah, you gotta let the player, you gotta let them shine. And that's why there's a part in the documentary where Coach K said the players started talking, and he was kind of like, okay, well, they figured it out. They've been in this position. They know, you got some championships on that team you got right there. They know what it is. Crunch time, baby.
We got King Doc in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you're enjoying being on the Masked Singer. Oh, don't tell us who you are.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
You and Tom. Man, Tom went to the Masked Singer and he losing. Real quick, there was this meme. There was this fake tweet that was like, "Yeah, Tom came to the locker room and threw his helmet and said, I lost my family for this." And then he curled up in the ball and cried.
Y'all got that one I sent you last night with Giselle at the Tombstone, and Tombstone read Tom Brady's career.
I don't remember that. I didn't see that one. All right, so this 2008 squad. Let's go down the roster real quick. Carlos Boozer, Jason Kidd, LeBron James, Deron Williams, Michael Redd, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Dwight Howard, Chris Bosh, Chris Paul, Tayshaun Prince, man.
Names on that list,
Prince, man. And Carmelo Anthony. The oldest person on the team was 35. That was J Kidd. The youngest person was actually Dwight Howard at 22. That was a young Dwight Howard. Mm-hmm. So going through the rounds, they quarterfinals, they beat Australia 116-85. That semifinals, I think, was actually a little bit closer. I think, but they ended up pulling away. I think in the fourth quarter, that was 101-81. And in the Spain game, I think there was obviously there was a lot riding on that one, but I think there was, the storyline like we already talked about with Kobe and Martin Powell Gasol. But I think when you talk about any player that just has that killer instinct, they know what the other team, how you can push their buttons, how you can affect them. So Kobe knew me running into him is going to mess his game up. And even Powell, a little bit of the backstory, Kobe came to him the night before, the week of or something. And Powell, he was already in his head at that point. Powell was already like, yeah, I think that he did that to get in my head. I mean, we'll never know at this point, but maybe he just wanted to say hi. But Powell was already done. He was already done before the game even started.
Here's the thing. If you feel like that from your, not even a nemesis, if you feel like that from your brother, your neighbor, your family member, it's a pretty high probability that, yeah, you're softening me up. Hello, Trojan horse. Let me roll this horse up to your door and hide an army of men in here. That's not a gift.
I'm gonna give affirmation of what he said. Who's Kobe's favorite player in the world? Michael Jordan.
Jordan got to kill.
Michael Jordan was accused of doing that very. He gonna go hang out with Patrick Ewing all night. He go kick it with Barkley, soften him up. So if Jordan at his funeral, what did Jordan say? Kobe would call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and asking questions. So you think he ain't talk to him then? Hey man, punk, oh boy. He said soften him up and then punk him out.
What was that? I was watching something the other night. It was something they were saying. When you know your enemy, you know the victory at that point.
Yeah.
You know who you're facing. You know who you're dealing with. And not so much of an enemy, but at that moment, Kobe, red laser Kobe at that moment. Yeah. It's like, that's it. It's Black Mamba time, baby. I'm representing the United States.
For that Kobe doc. I don't know if I thought I heard something and they're working on it or something, but that better be a series.
That needs to be a series. That can't be. It can't be no 90 minutes.
Look. To be him being born. Let's start there.
Be no 2 hours.
If you give Jeffrey Dahmer 10 episodes, we need 12 from Kobe. All right.
Right. What I'm saying.
Right.
On that BS, give him 10.
Wilkes has seen all of it, man.
I haven't even clicked on it.
I had to, man. I had to, man.
All right,
it's not because I was anti-Jeffrey. It's just like, I was 20 at that time. I was watching him.
You were.
Trust me, I was hearing about it growing up a lot. Yeah.
And then that was in Milwaukee. He killed somebody from my neighborhood.
Really?
Oh, I wouldn't surprise me.
That 2008 Spain squad had Jose Calderon. He had some time in the NBA. Rudy Fernandez, Mark and Powell. We know that. Raul Lopez, Carlos Jimenez. Now I don't know any of those other guys. At least 4 of those, played in the NBA. But again, they played, since they were young. So as we get to kind of round out the show, we're going to get to some final thoughts. Anything that we might have left out that you want to touch on or add on to, and we can kick it to our guest first. So Hygh.
One thing I'm learning about these documentaries and just sports today, that what it was beforehand, looking at football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, we need the coaches to coach and the players to play.
Absolutely.
And I'm not like even looking at the NFL right now. This is the worst football I've seen in my lifetime because coaches have not given players the accountability. And if we look at this, Coach K, holding people's feet to the fire. Yeah. And we need to get back to that. And we need to find out what happened in these last 10 or 15 years as to why we're not holding players accountable and why coaches are not putting their players in position to win. But otherwise, man, I love the documentary. I'm going to go watch it again tonight because it was some more talking to you all, man. It was more things that I pulled out from each and every one of you all that I want to go pull out and look at again.
Yeah, that's the greatness of this show is we all may come in here with one rating we think we're going to have.
Yeah.
And then once we had a conversation, it either goes up or down.
Oh, I got to give a mic rating? Is it out of 5?
Out of 5.
I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Terry, we go to you.
I think one thing we didn't talk about from the 06 World Games to the 08 Redeem Team, we dropped Mike Miller and added Kobe. So I think that was a pretty big roster upgrade right there. I had to pause it. I was like, is that Mike Miller? Yeah, it was Mike Miller when they lost to Argentina. So just overall, it was great to see. Like, I love the behind the scenes video that these documentaries get. I absolutely loved it. Watching the basketball clips, and you forget, oh, that's right, Dwight Howard was that dude, before he became, whatever he is now. Like, Dwight Howard was a dude, and I enjoyed watching that. Yeah, he was great. So it was a great story. I thought it was great, kind of highlighting that Kobe and LeBron had to kind of come together. Yeah. And get on the same page. Very reminiscent of the Dream Team, where Magic and Michael had to kind of come to an understanding. Okay, who's going to be the alpha dog? But I love basketball. I love watching that kind of stuff, and I thought it was fantastic. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 because I think we could have done a little bit more. This could have been something where we looked at. And honestly, I was telling my wife this. I would watch something if they just looked at every Olympic team that we've had. I would watch that 72 documentary. Great. I would watch the one on 88. I would watch, we've all watched the Dream Team. But
the 72 got one on HBO, bro.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Watch that one. If you look at the 96 Dream Team 2 roster, that's a pretty good roster too.
Right.
Like, that's a pretty talented roster.
It's not a pushover. Yeah, it's not a pushover.
Right. So I just think that's one of those teams we forget about. Right, because they dominated, not on par with the first Dream Team, but that was relatively easy work in '96. As I go to my '96 shooting shirt, but I give 4 out of 5 because it could have been a little bit longer, a little bit more, and that's what a good documentary will do, is have you wanting a little bit more, being like my man out. Let me research a little bit. Oh, that happened. Let me take a look at that. I think that's what the good part of this documentary.
Yeah. And I think that aspect of, which we didn't touch on that much, but the aspect of LeBron and Kobe, one kind of in a little bit of turmoil, one coming in young, and the aspect of LeBron just joking, and it's like Kobe couldn't help it but laugh. It was like, the dude is annoying, but I can't help it but laugh. And I think you got to see, they did also, man, I forgot about this, when they did the birthday thing for Kobe, and he was like, I don't want y'all to do this. His family was there. They did a whole surprise. And you see the smile on his face. I think the worst part about this is you didn't hear what Kobe had to say. He's not here to be able to watch this, which obviously, we would have loved that to happen. I think that was, one of the I think the saddest parts of it is that it's a documentary about someone, but that person is not being interviewed about it, But I think that was a good aspect to see. To see LeBron and Kobe, and to see Coach K. I don't know if he really said who had to be the leader. It seemed like he was like, you guys decide who is going to be.
Yeah, you guys figure it out.
You guys decide who's going to be. You both know who you guys are. I'm not going to get in the middle of it. When the time comes, and when the time came, Kobe had to shut things down. So, but A-Trap, what do you?
Again, I think it was great, but I'm gonna give it 4.5. I think it was excellent, but it's just, as I've been telling y'all, when you telling a story of this magnitude, it cannot be summed up in 90 minutes. So I remember certain aspects of that team, like they didn't touch on, like, see, the 96, the 04 team didn't have Jason Kidd, because remember, Jason Kidd was out for microfracture surgery. That's a big component to them winning and losing. Joe Johnson was heating up in the 08 on the 18. Nobody mentioned Joe Johnson heating people up, man. And that's what I'm saying. It's they didn't take their time with this, and then they turned it into the Kobe Memorial. And hey, man, Kobe Bryant, a great player, man, but this wasn't about him, and I understand why it turned into the Kobe Memorial. It was dope the way they did it. You supposed to give him his flowers. We should have gave him his flowers. Well, he got his flowers while he was here, and I appreciate that. And then it's just, again, man, they create these false narratives. We didn't think LeBron and Kobe could play together. That's like saying you ain't think Scottie and Mike could play together. LeBron is a pass first guy. Kobe's a shoot first guy. If it ain't two more people on earth born to play together, it's those two guys.
Right.
Just like saying, we don't know if Michael Jordan could play with Magic Johnson. Hold it. You don't know if the dude who looking to pass can play with the dude who looking to score.
They be making up stuff, man. They be talking out the side of their neck, man. Sometimes
it's just like when they thought Jordan couldn't take care of Rodman, but Rodman he was a rebound monster, man. When he got with it, he's like, hey, man, we know you're gonna have some antics, but right now I'm gonna need you to show up, brother.
Yeah,
exactly.
He listened. He listened to Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Because Rodman was about winning. Just remember, man, when you talk about Rodman wasn't this and wasn't that. Let's go back. Rodman walked in the league. He stepped onto the floor of the Bad Boys. His rookie year, he playing in the conference finals.
Right.
Playing against Larry Bird and slowing Bird down. Remember, you fast forward, put him on the San Antonio Spurs. Guess why he was tripping? Because David Robinson didn't have that thing in his chest.
Yeah.
David Robinson did not have that thing in his chest. Don't nobody want to admit it, but David Robinson, his thing was keeping him alive. It wasn't that, let's go.
Yeah.
As soon as some duck you get there, you get the let's go.
Right.
And then Rodman get put on the Bulls, and Mike got that thing in his chest.
Right.
So it ain't no problem. I'm here to win.
Like, fuck you, Detroit.
Right. I'm here to win.
It didn't matter when she switched teams, it was over.
It's like, no.
Check this out. At the end of his career, where did Rodman end his career? In Dallas, where they weren't trying to win at that point, and in LA, when they weren't trying to win at that point.
That was it.
Back to the antics.
Right,
as long as you put them in a situation
not trying to win,
you ain't trying to win. Well, I'm
out. I'm out.
Hey, I got the red hair. I'm gonna go buy some red shoes, and I'm gonna climb.
Right.
So,
I'm about to marry myself.
right.
He just be thinking of whatever, man.
Right, I'm gonna go to
he was
Town and find the queen.
He was a competitor that played with competitors.
Yeah. Think about this, man. Dennis Rodman's last game in San Antonio, he had 26 rebounds and 20 points. He gave up on the team. Well, you know what? I need him to give up every night.
Yeah.
So, but you know, man, I enjoyed it. It was good to see, but I just think they need to stop creating these false narratives to sell these things. We sports fans are gonna watch this just because we want to see Kobe. Right. We want to see Kobe. We want to see LeBron. We want to see all those guys. So, like y'all said, stretch this out 6, 7, 8 episodes. Right. Let us enjoy this.
I have to say, when I was watching it, it was like, man, I'm already 40 minutes into it. Like it did go by kind of fast.
I think too. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
Well, I said they should have done it like the OJ documentary on ESPN.
Yes,
another one.
I don't even know, because it was like 5 parts, and I don't even think we got to OJ until like toward the end of the second part, right? Because you can start to tell your story in 08, you can even start in 04, but you really got to lay the foundation. You got to bring in, you know, I would have liked to have seen some clips, a little bit more of David Stern. I'm sorry, I'm over talking. I apologize, fellas.
No, you
but a little bit more of David Stern, and you know, he wasn't letting the NBA players go because he loved America, right? But it's cha-ching, right? So that's part of all this too. It's not so much those false narratives; it's the simple narratives. It's this simple linear thinking. Where, and my dad used to tell me, you got to find out the why. You got to find out the why, because why did we send the 04 team constructed like it was, coached by who it was? Why did, you know, so I need a little bit more of that. And I apologize for over talking, but
man,
I just think about that OJ documentary and I'm like, oh, they went to the way back to bring up, you know, when black folks first started showing up in California. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Give me the whole, whole thing.
The fact that they did a whole documentary on something that happened, what was this, 96, 92, whenever that was?
90.
The fact that they are still making documentaries on this in different ways They did a actorial one where who was
Cuba
it?
Gooding Jr. was
Cuba
in.
Gooding Jr.
That one was hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That I didn't get anything
was-
out of that but laughter. But anyway.
See, if they would have started it in 96, I think 96 would have been a good 96, 2000, and then and really saw the because after that was big for the Olympics to be in Atlanta in 96, and that was at the peak, Dream Team too, comparative roster, and then find out what happened in 2000, starting right there and like the OJ documentary, outstanding documentary for those who haven't watched it. It was, and they painted. One episode, they painted an entire picture of South Central Los Angeles.
Right.
OJ in the projects.
Yeah. They did, before we even got to Nicole, we had to break down.
OJ USC.
Yeah. It gave you the full landscape of what was going on in the city, because that matters in the complete story. Even if they want to interview some of the Dream Team, Magic and Larry, and see what their thoughts were, and when they decided they was going to be done. So I mean,
let me fix that for you, Ben. Yeah. It matters what that beginning story is in the media, because just look at the environment that he came from. We want to paint that picture. Let me correct that for you there, Ben.
Yeah, to Terry's point though, this is what documentaries do.
Yeah.
It gives you wanting more. It gives you wanting to do research. It gives you wanting to figure out different things, and so I think that's a great decision.
Well, and real quick, a lot of these documentaries also spark investigations. I mean, some of this stuff is coming back up.
That would have never came out.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is coming back up and starting to open up cases again. So it's kind of and look, y'all just kind of brush right over this. Like, how y'all just brush over that and not go back to it? So a lot of this stuff has re-sparked some ignition. It's got some fire under it.
Yeah,
on some things.
And just to mention something that had nothing to do with it, but this is why I've been railing on biopics. Like, y'all like the Ali movie, I don't, because like Terry. Like Terry said, I didn't learn nothing in the Ali movie. I didn't learn anything.
It was a biopic. Yeah, I don't think you really do.
I didn't learn one thing.
Yeah.
How you do a movie about Muhammad Ali and we don't know why he started boxing? I know why he started boxing. Somebody stole his bike and he went in there and learned how to fight him. But
and I think to H-Rap's point, I think biopics are to present like, oh, this is the wonder, this is the legend. Look at this great story throughout the years. I think that's what biopics. Yeah, I know. I agree. I think he's right. I mean, it's not like one of those like, oh well, we don't really know why Ali stood up against the war in Vietnam. That movie's not going to tell you. It's going to touch on it, but it's not going to go in depth. It's not going to tell you because it's more about his achievements at this moment,
right?
And what he's done.
Yeah. And the issue with biopics is if you are doing a musician or somebody like that, you want to use their music,
right?
So you have to get the estate to sign off, and the estate's not going to let you get the dirty details, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Just all those biopics just have glaring omissions. Ray with Jamie Foxx, and then the Johnny Cash with all of there's all this stuff. I'm over talking anything, but I'm right there with you though, that those movies just don't do
right.
I'd almost rather not see it, because you're not going to get nothing but if I'm telling my life story, I'm gonna make myself look good, right?
Right.
If I'm telling my dad's story, I'm telling the good stuff. Y'all not gonna hear about everything, even though it's public knowledge. So you're not gonna get that out of those biopics.
No, because like I said, once again, they'll graze over it, but it's really about my achievements and how the fans love me and how I was invited to the White House and stuff like that. It's not going to be that
the gritty.
I think that's why we love Ray so much, though, because Ray was alive. He was a part of that.
Right.
Yep. And it showed, and Ray really showed some everything. And again, Jamie Foxx, you watch that film thinking it's Ray. you know it's Jamie Foxx, but in your
Right.
mind,
But
wow,
in your mind, yeah, right, exactly. The
Yeah,
makeup and everything.
studied
Yeah.
him from
Fred
top
Williamson Jr.
up.
killed that.
Here we go.
All right, so Wilkes. Final thoughts?
Yeah, my initial thoughts really on the whole thing. I mean, I thought it was done well. And there was things that were, like you said, when I looked at the first thing when I watch stuff like this, I look at how many minutes. I look at the time, and I'm like, it's 90 minutes, but I know it's gonna blow by. But it was done well. I mean, there were some things that I was too young to remember growing up in the 80s and through the 90s. But of course, I'm in high school. I didn't really think about no basketball, but but I was. I mean, I kept my ear to that. But it was just there was a lot of great things to see here, and then I will say, yeah, it became a Kobe doc there for a little bit. But I guess I see why they did it. It's kind of like, yeah, let's shine the light on him. He's not here to really kind of talk about how he felt about things, but I was gonna put it at a 4 for the mic. But no, I enjoyed watching it, and there was also a lot of things that, as far as Kobe's, did they focus on? I felt like they started focusing on Kobe's drive, like what his work ethic was,
right?
And people falling in line with that. I mean, even after Kobe died, people were like, "Man, Kobe wouldn't accept that." I literally like people were literally saying like, "Oh, Kobe wouldn't put up with that." It was just like that's how big of a crater that he left on so many different, whether it was sports, hell, it could be driving a damn race car, boxing. It was just like Kobe wouldn't have this. It's like one of those things. It was pretty significant, but no, I enjoyed it.
Well, that Jason Tatum that posted something to Instagram saying, "Yeah, I'm doing this for you, Kobe." And then the next game, I think he had 5 points, and it was like, Kobe ain't accepting this, man.
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
That's when they were in the dome, right? Is that when?
Yeah, he got roasted, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I thought it was a great documentary. I love these type of documentaries. As soon as I seen it coming out, I'm like, I'm definitely watching this that week.
Oh yeah.
All the backstories. I think also the footage that they had. Was they really gonna go to Deron Williams and talk to him? Probably not.
Yeah,
they're gonna go to Tayshaun Prince? Probably not. So how much
Kentucky's
footage do
own.
they actually have too? I think that's what'd you say?
I said Kentucky's own Tayshaun Prince.
Yeah. So how much? I wonder too. What my mind was thinking is how much footage did they have? Because if you were cutting out parts, you really didn't have to. So I hope that they used as much as they could, because then when you start to cut things out, you start to leave out, some other details that we could have wanted. But I loved it. I love these type of documentaries. I'm gonna give it I was teetering between a 4 and a 4.5. I think I'm gonna give it a 4. I think it was well done. It was very similar to The Last Dance, kind of how it went. At some point, I don't remember what episode, and me, Al, I think my dad and a couple other people were reviewing that, but it became Jordan, from there on. But yeah, I think this was well worth reviewing. And yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for coming on, Al and Terry. As we kind of do at the end, we just talk about, what we got coming up this week on our podcast and on our show. So Al, you got something coming up this week you want to?
Yeah, I got an episode we're dropping tomorrow. Just gonna probably do another review of this documentary, hit up on the highlights of what's going on in the world of sports, and we go from there. Talk about life, man. It's a rebirth of Casual Highlights.
Yeah, definitely Casual Highlights, which is on bs3network.com, also available on all podcast platforms, and you do have the YouTube channel as well.
I got the YouTube channel. I post different YouTube shorts on there, different little 1 minute segments. So I got a lot in the notes for Casual Highlights of things that we're gonna do and put together. So I'm excited.
And the Instagram as well, doing some reels and shorts on there.
And the gram, yes sir. Yeah.
Getting some
TikTok too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm off TikTok. I'm not on the top. I have to let that go.
TikTok all the time.
Man, listen, man. It it was no love, in my opinion, for the black creators. But we'll talk about that on a different one because I got my issues with
the whole
TikTok.
it's a documentary about that too.
Yeah,
about the person that created the dance don't get no credit.
Oh Lord, that I remember. Yeah, did that happen earlier this year or last summer or something?
Earlier this year or in the
how you doing somebody dance? You ain't gonna give credit to where credit due. Like what? Come on, man, stop.
But Terry, I know you got Cats Talk Wednesdays coming up. Anything you want to touch on or shout out?
I don't know who we got coming up. Vinny always sends me a text on Tuesday to let me know what's going on Wednesday. He's the booker. He gets. We've had some great guests and
yeah.
So
a couple last week. You want to touch on that? The former NFL coach.
Oh yeah, we had Larry and I'm Kirksey. He's a wide receiver coach, and we had him on. And I'm a 49ers fan. And he was the wide receivers coach in San Francisco from 94 to 98.
98, wasn't it?
Wow.
And he was there when they won the Super Bowl. He's been a wide receiver coach. Andre Johnson. He was the Emmitt Smith's running back coach at Florida. So that was a great show. Yeah, that was.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, he's just casual, like, yeah, I was just talking to Emmitt, and I'm like, okay. So that was great. That was great. A couple episodes back, we had Roy Wood Jr. of the Daily Show on. He's always funny and hilarious, and so we just enjoy doing. Like I said, we start with Kentucky sports, but whatever interest, whoever says yes to come on, we'll talk about it and we'll chop it up.
Yeah, great show. Wednesdays, it drops the audio. Normally, the video, the video is also on YouTube. Cats Talk Wednesday. Just type that in, and then it's on Roku. Normally, the day after. So you can definitely check out current and past episodes. All right, A-Trap, you got End of the Bench tomorrow?
Yeah, End of the Bench. Well, first of all, I want to promote this show from Friday. It's called Rapping with A-Trap. I do it every Friday where I interview people, and they talk about either their story or what they have going on. Please, if you get a chance, go view my last episode. It's about insurance and how insurance can be financially beneficial to you, not just a means to take care of your families after they transition. It could be a financial tool and things of that nature. It was very good information on that. So even if you don't ever pay attention to me again, please go check that episode out from Friday. But tomorrow, I'm talking about, how if you've never listened to my show, I talk about tribes. I don't believe race is a social construct. There is no such thing as race.
Charles Darwin.
Exactly. You come up with race when Pope Marcus, Pope Julius in the 1500s created race. So we're doing this thing in our tribe with this divide and conquer, ADOS, foundational Black Americans and things of that nature. And basically I want to talk about that and show how foolish it is, because we're in the Trauma Olympics, and if you are of African descent, you don't have an issue with America. You got an issue with the United States and an entire European continent, because they owe the entire African diaspora, not America, not so forth and so on. I'm gonna cover those things, and then I'm gonna talk about how we keep attacking these people who are part of, people like Stacey Abrams and Val Demings, who I financially support their accounts, their campaign. Yeah, I literally give them money monthly, and we attack them because they're affiliated with the Democratic Party. But what's the plan? Black people, y'all always complaining. What if we asked for that we didn't get? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, nothing. Okay, right. And then I'm gonna talk about how while we're destroying this party and these people in this party, the other party is trying to do away. They're trying to cover their tracks in regards to creating this war machine in 1980 and funding it with our Social Security money. If you do away with Social Security, then the criminals never get caught. So they're trying to do away with it. Then down there in Texas, y'all know I talk about Texas. Y'all know I love Texas, but I talk about Texas all the time because whatever happens in Texas, and remember, I've exposed this on several occasions, whatever happens in Texas, it catches on throughout the world. Right. What was the first thing? They started doing away with abortion in Texas. Next thing you know, you got about 14 states that did away with abortion. The latest thing in Texas is Texas Act 2158, where they handing out DNA tests to school children. DNA and fingerprint. They fingerprinting and DNA test to school children, and the propaganda is, are we doing this because it's human trafficking?
Right.
But what you don't know, what the media hasn't told us is this. And what is it? Uvalde?
Yeah, Uvalde.
Uvalde, Texas.
Yeah.
And Uvalde, Texas. Guess how they had to identify some of those children? Some of those parents remember what shoes that their children wore to school that day, and other parents had to give DNA samples because AR-15s hit you and explode and destroy you.
Yeah.
So some of our young people were their bodies were so distorted that their parents had to give DNA to identify the body. Wow. So, and then another thing, I'm gonna close out the show with something funny, but the next to the last thing is rules of engagement. The reason disenfranchised people throughout this country are losing is because we don't know the rules of engagement. One of the rules of engagement is lobbyists. We don't have a group of lobbyists. We have the Divine Nine, but none of those are millions of people.
Yeah. And
we don't look. We talk about how the alphas, they supposed to be the smart guys, right? Well, won't y'all get behind education? The Qs, y'all supposed to be some goons, right? Won't y'all get behind police reform? So the Sigmas, y'all supposed to be professionals. Won't y'all get behind discrimination in the medical community? We have the capability to fix these things, but we don't have a lobbyist. What is a lobbyist? I'm gonna explain what a lobbyist is. Then I'm gonna show you what a think tank is. I'm gonna show you how we can win. And then I'm gonna have my man Alice Mingus on there. For y'all who don't know who Alice Mingus is, do yourself a favor and YouTube Alex Mingus right now and have a laugh for the rest of the evening. And then come on. If you don't do it tomorrow now, tune in tomorrow and you'll have a laugh with me. Because Alice Mingus in the state of Minnesota, he acted a fool. That brother, Alice Mingus is a teacher in the Minneapolis, Minnesota school system. It was a shootout rolling past him. He sees somebody leaving the shootout. This man gets out of his car, stumbling, bleeding. Alex is a trained paramedic. He gives him a tourniquet, saves his life. The city recognizes him, and he set the city on fire verbally. Took down. He's standing there with a hoodie. Took the hoodie off. It said "Destroy white supremacy," and he literally said, "I'm scared here with y'all because I don't rock with the police." As he's standing there next to the chief of police, live on news. So I gotta salute him. I'm actually may come up with a segment where I'm gonna salute somebody who's standing up against oppression, discrimination, and white nationalism. Because y'all know I don't call it supremacy; it's white nationalism. We got disenfranchised people throughout the world who are not getting their fair shake, and it ain't because they lazy and trifling. All I know is this: if you remove resources from anybody, they do what they have to do to survive, no matter where you are in this world. So if you can keep arguing about what color your skin is, and you and these people gonna keep taking your water. They're going to keep taking your academic abilities. You can keep taking everything from you because you arguing about something that don't even exist. So that's what the show going to be about tomorrow. Tune in, man.
Man, a lot to unpack tomorrow. End of the Bench podcast on YouTube.
Wednesday.
End of the Bench at 6 p.m. Central. And Wilkes does not have a podcast yet, but he's whipping something up. Whipping something up in the kitchen. You got anything in the freezer? Anything in the... we cooking on.
I was actually thinking this weekend, which I don't know what the temperature is going to be, but I was going to test my gumbo again this weekend. But I don't know if I'm going to make a homemade gumbo or not. So I don't know. We'll see. I got all kinds of stuff that's in my head right here that are things that need to be exercised in the kitchen, if you will. So we
keep trying to force him to do a podcast. Reach out to BS3 Network. And have him do Mayhem Childs, the cooking show. Junior Child's nephew.
Yes, sir.
But thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Another great episode of the Fourcast. We will be back next week, which is Halloween, and we'll be reviewing The Curse of Bridge Hollow, which
I didn't
is
see that. I didn't even notice that. What is that?
Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Kelly Rowland. Shout out to Kelly Rowland
Playing the wife.
Playing the wife, and then I don't know what that lady's name is, but she's always plays the weird, quirky lady.
Like she SNL character, or she?
No, she's not an SNL character. I'll figure. I'll say what her name is in the chat. But
don't forget
next week.
In the kitchen.
And tomorrow, I'll be posting. We got shows for the next basically 8 weeks. We can put that out there too, so you guys can be on top of what we're going to be watching. But thank you to the guests, Al and Terry, for coming on. We appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having me.
Out of your night.
And every Sunday, soon, Mayhem in the Kitchen.
And y'all have a great night. Thank you to all the viewers, everybody in the comments. Make sure to check out the BS3 Network, bs3network.com, BS3 TV Live for Roku, or if you got a Roku TV or device, go to BS3 TV.
And Mayhem in the Kitchen coming soon.
Have a good night.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.